Hi, I'm Brittney Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today with Sarah. Everyone, welcome to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. I'm your host, Brittney Ashley, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 5.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And we have a little listener listening to us. Escape the routine and join us for the next hour as we break norms and build dreams with Sarah. Sarah, I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry you hear my 2-year-old in the background. She is very excited, very clearly. There she is. She popped in her little head.
So cute. I'm so excited to have you both on today. I'll just do a little bio on you. I'm so excited to talk more. Sarah is an award-winning personal trainer, self-love coach, plus-size model, motivational speaker, and former Miss Plus Canada. She's a passionate about women learning to love themselves and creating lasting change in their wellness journey. You can catch her as TV personality and fitness experts on Cityline and Breakfast Television. She was recently featured in Self magazines, and Glamour magazine has named her one of the top 30 fitness Instagram accounts to follow. So exciting. I'm like getting so pumped reading this. And her work has recently been featured in New York Post and Washington Post. Sarah advocates for plus-size women in fitness and beauty and has worked with some of the world's most renowned brands such as Nike, Under Armour, Sport Chek, NYX, Lululemon, and Self magazine, to name a few. All for the goal to show plus-size women they deserve to live the life of their dreams and have a seat at the table. Love it. She has learned that being an athlete and a model has no size, and her mission is to help women on their self-love journeys through her new book, Social Influence. And in her virtual fitness studio, Sarah encourages women to live their best life, body, soul, and spirit. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I know that was such a great bio. But maybe you can do more of a bio first, just kind of start off like how you started, because I bet you so many people are interested on that.
Well, I definitely didn't have the experience doing what I do now. I used to work in the nonprofit sector. I did tele-fundraising, and then I did digital fundraising. So I basically helped Canada, North America's top nonprofits raise money online or via tele-fundraising. But I also went through a personal experience. Just before I was 30, I left an abusive marriage and I embarked on what I call my self-love journey. And I realized that I wasn't operating out of my value and my worth, and I was accepting what I thought I deserved, which was not much. And so when I left, I started focusing on body, soul, and spirit, how to make change, how do I heal? And that's really what my focus was. And so affirmations and journaling and all of that kind of stuff. And about 2 years into my journey, my mom said to me, okay, it's time to stop surviving. It's time to start dreaming. And so being my A-type personality, I went and got a big Bristol board and wrote out all my dreams, and down to like travel I wanted to do, instruments I wanted to play again. I wanted to be a Zumba instructor. That was something that was on there. So that's interesting to note. And then I wrote plus size modeling, and I had erased it 3 times before it actually stuck. And so that was in September. And then the following February, I had my first opportunity to model. So I went to the opportunity. Then I was invited to be with the same company. They no longer exist, unfortunately, but they did a Dragon's Den. So then I was one of the models for that. And then I got an email, are you the next Miss Plus Canada? And so I entered the pageant with no experience, covered in tattoos, which apparently was like not a thing. Originally they had said that we had to cover all of our tattoos and my whole back is done. And I'm like, how is this going to happen? And so they ended up changing the rules for me. and I ended up winning Queen People's Choice in Talent. And the interesting thing about it is being beautiful was one of the things that like I struggled with most of my life because I had been the big girl. So I always heard, oh, you'd be beautiful if you lost weight. That was always a thing. Your pretty butt. Um, and I remember when we had to do a talent. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do for a talent? I'm not singing on stage. And all I had was my story of journey to self-love and all the things that I had to walk through to get to where I was. And so I wrote this spoken word, and I remember at rehearsal, I can still picture it like it was yesterday, even though it was 10 years ago. And I said it. It was the first time I had said it out loud because at this point I was practicing in my room, and I said it out loud, and it was almost like a physical release. And all the girls in the pageant stood around me and they just like hugged me because they didn't know that I had that in me because I was so shy. And so it was in that moment that I realized that I didn't get through what I got through to sit down and keep my mouth shut, but to help other women. And so the journey kept going on. I ended up winning. I have a marketing background, so I ended up just branding myself, sharing my life online. And my whole goal was about inspiring women to see their value, their worth, and their beauty, and reprogram the negative tape that plays in their head. And several years into that, fitness became a part of it. It became how I felt better about myself physically, created space for all the other things that I wanted to do as well. And then I was fat shamed at a gym after 2 years of being there. And I was like, what am I going to do about this? I'm not the only plus size woman that just wants to feel good in the gym and not be shamed. So I ended up certifying as a personal trainer. One of my mentors, who I'm still friends with, actually paid for half my certification because she really believed in me. And then things just kept happening because I just kept taking one step in front of the next. I ended up opening my first studio in a shared space just after graduation. I had not taught a single class and I launched. So I just decided I'm going for it. Opened a gym in Toronto the following year. And then due to COVID, had to shut down and went 100% virtual. So I'm 100% virtual now. I also now have a two-year-old that wasn't planned as well. So there's been lots of pivot, lots of change, but all around the journey to self-love, and how fitness plays a role in that as one of many elements on your journey.
I love
it's
that.
Long and short.
Yeah, I love that though. Thank you for sharing with all of us. I find like going back to just the gym itself, like I had severe anxiety going to the gym. And like everyone be like, you need to go to the gym and lose weight, or you need to go to the gym and have like do the exercise, do these things. And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, and the gym as a whole gives me severe anxiety because I feel like I'm always being watched. I'm always being judged. I personally always struggled with what I look like. And so I just love what you're doing because I think we're so drowned with social media of the negative. And so I love that you're taking and being positive light that a lot of women can connect with. So with that, I'm just looking at some of because you said a whole bunch there. So I'm wondering like, where should we digest? Where should we start with? But it sounds like overall, you really want to start this journey to empower and inspire women to self-love. Can you kind of give any kind of light to somebody who might be struggling right now, little steps that you took to kind of start your path? Because everyone has their own journey like you do. What's that first step? Because I find that's always like the first step that it's hard to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say the first step is just acknowledging that where you are right now is not serving you. And so that's usually the hardest part. And that's like with anything in life, right? Like if you're in a relationship that's not serving you, if you're in a job that's not serving you, one of the hardest things is to actually say, this isn't working for me. And it can take a lot of courage to say that because so many things are wrapped into that, right? And so relationships, finances might be wrapped into that, so many different things, right? So it's that acknowledgement first. And sometimes you might need to talk through that with somebody of like, something doesn't feel right. I'm not sure what it is. And I think really getting in tune with how you currently feel. And then the next step is seeing, what do you want to feel like? What do you want life to look like? What's important to you? What are your values? What are you expecting life is going to look like? What are your dreams? And then from there, it's like, okay, what are some steps to start taking to go from A to B? And I think that that then becomes the overwhelming for a lot of
Mhm.
people. And that's where they go into the all or nothing thinking. So I'm not
Yeah.
happy where I am. This is where I want to be, but I'm going to change 100 things at once and get discouraged by day three. So I
Yeah.
would say that's the biggest trend I see is like,
Mhm.
first it's the acknowledgement, then it's like, okay, I'm going to do something about it. But then you have to kind of take a step back and say, what are 1 to 3 small things that I can do to show up for myself consistently every
Mhm.
day that will add up to the change that I want? So if we're speaking specifically to, we'll speak to 2 things: fitness as well as how you view yourself. So your self love journey, we'll call it. When it comes to fitness, a lot of people think, I have to start working out 5 days a week. Please don't.
Yeah.
I coach clients one on one. I have an app, and I will get in their intake form 5 days. I absolutely not. If you're not working out at all now, I'm not
Yeah.
programming you 5 days. Um, Oftentimes, if somebody says I want to start with 3, I might start them with 3, but say let's like soften with 2, because again,
Mhm.
like you have to create space for this in your life, and you have to create new routines around these changes that you want to make.
100%.
But like one of the easiest things you can start to do to move your body is start walking. I love using the goal of adding a 20-minute walk in your day. It's usually something pretty attainable for people. And if you don't have 20 minutes at once, split it up, whether it be going for a 5-minute walk after every meal or splitting it up into 2 10-minute walks. But just like a 20-minute
Mhm.
walk each day is going to make a massive difference in so many ways.
Mhm.
Um, and focusing on those small habits. When we think of like brushing our teeth is a natural habit that we likely don't have to think about. It's very part of very much part of our day. And the goal is that your habits that you want to work on when it comes to your fitness, your self-love, nutrition, self-care, all your wellness, is that it becomes more natural and a new norm for you rather than it feeling super uncomfortable.
Mhm.
um, and it's going to feel uncomfortable in the first little bit, and that's okay. We grow outside of our comfort zones, and so realizing like it's going to be uncomfortable, but bite-sized chunks and
Yeah.
focusing on like 1% change every day, not like 100% change every day.
Mhm.
I think that that's those elements together is where to start.
Yeah.
And then as you continue to go, you change and you evolve. Like, for example, for me, um, I had some back procedures done this summer, so I couldn't strength train. So I walked all summer. I walked 6 kilometers every day with Brooklyn, my daughter, and my mom. So I kept active, which felt really good. And my distance got further, my cardiovascular got better. And then when I started to incorporate strength training again, even as a personal trainer, I started with 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Got comfortable doing that for 12 weeks. Then I added a third. Got consistent with that. Now I'm at 4. And so I've had a routine. I recently moved at the beginning of this month, and I wanted to ease into what routine was going to look like. And
Mhm.
today I actually started with a 5:15 a.m. wake up so that I can work out before my daughter gets up. But I've had to ease into all of these changes as opposed to like just switching it on, because that often doesn't work for people. And that's where they get discouraged and then
Yeah.
stop. And then you don't change.
Yeah. I definitely can relate to that. Also, too, like we're still in the new year phase.
Yeah.
Still, like, yes, we're in March, but I still find that every year everyone's like, "What's your New Year's resolution? What's your new goals? What are da da da?" And
Hmm.
then the main one is always I'm going to go work out and get healthy, and
Yeah.
then I just decided not even like to even think about New Year's resolutions anymore, and just kind of like more on my birthday, I guess. I've
Yeah.
decided because that's my new year, new age, and what
Yeah.
makes sense to me kind of situation versus the new year of New Year's, and trying to think of what's in alignment to me now. Because
Hmm.
right now, too, like with 2 little ones, like I can't even think about, well, like we already just talked about, like I hate going to the gym, so let's be honest. Ongoing jump. There's actually my lifelong friend listening right now. She'd probably be writing in the comments being like, Brittney would get out of gym class since middle school, probably in elementary school, but we didn't even notice.
That's hilarious.
I worked the system and I still got A's.
But I think the thing too is like the gym intimidation is a real thing. There is no dismissing that. It's very real. And so many people struggle with it, not just being plus size. Like I have clients who are not plus size. I specifically message to plus size because I am, and they can identify that I look similar to them, and that if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. With that said, again, it's a whole all or nothing. Just because you don't want to go to the gym, you might have to work up your confidence to go there. Working out at home, there is nothing wrong with it. I have literally been working out at home since COVID hit, and I just shut my gym down. I've only now gone back to a gym, which is only in my condo. That's the only reason I'm going, because it's available. But you can get an effective workout at home with not much space and not much equipment, and start building your confidence so that you feel good. And I think a lot of it comes down to not just the perception of being around people, but also the confidence in knowing how to actually do it. And I think women specifically are not taught how to strength train. So I know a lot of women who are like, I'm going to the gym to go on the treadmill because it's the only thing they know how to do, or that they feel confident enough doing, right?
Yeah.
And if they knew how to use dumbbells and do squats and full body workouts with just dumbbells, or use machines, they would have a little bit more confidence, because then they're not worrying about like, how am I actually doing it? Right. So that's one stumbling block. And I think when you can approach things by tackling a stumbling block at a time, it will help build your confidence to do it. But again, you don't have to go from like doing nothing to then going to the gym. Work out at home. Like literally, I tell people I do have follow along video workouts. I've taught probably 400 live virtual classes since I closed my gym in 2020. So they're all part of my membership now on demand. But literally, if you have the size of a yoga mat, a couple dumbbells, optional resistance bands, you can get an amazing full body workout. No problem. Upper body, lower body, cardio, like you can use just your body, stuff around the house. Like if you don't have access to dumbbells, like there's so much that can be done to help build your confidence if you want to work out at the gym eventually, or if you just want to stay working out at home, because the benefits of moving your body are so exponential.
And I would say for me personally, I don't know if anyone else listening could relate to this, but since COVID, it's just been such a hard, like it was already hard enough before COVID to even want to really work out. My thing used to be swimming. I used to love swimming. But now after kids, like I don't feel confident in wearing a swimsuit. Like I just, I'm like, nope, like I'm horrified to wear a swimsuit. That's obviously a confidence thing that I need to overcome myself and stepping into the realm, because also too, like I want to be able to have fun with the kiddos and go to the beach and like have that, versus them being like, oh, mom just always sits on the sidelines and just watches. But really with before that, and then with COVID, I would say like just even getting into that moving piece for me has been really hard. We actually just got a puppy, a husky mix, because why not get the most talkative dog in the world? He needs to go out quite a bit. And I would say like compared to my old dog that recently passed, like he has so much energy. So it's making me want to be motivated to move again. It's like, to me, I had to find that motive, not to say that everyone can go out and get a dog, but but for me, work from home, like when we fostered this pup first, and just like his energy, I was like, okay, this is motivating me more, and it's just helping me switch my mind frame. Even though I've worked with so many different like fitness coaches in the past, and I felt like I could never make that switch, and I don't know why. Maybe you might know why.
Well, I think a lot of it really comes down to your why, right?
Yeah.
And I always, when I start working with clients one-on-one, it's okay, really identify what your why is. Is your why because you want to change your body? That's not going to keep you long-term. That is a sure way to set you up for constant disappointment and frustration.
Yes.
But when your why is intrinsic, so for me, my why has obviously evolved now being a mom as well. But I also have a 10-centimeter hamstring tear. So my hamstring is completely ripped off my butt bone, which I didn't know. It happened before I got pregnant, and I just found out about a year ago. It cannot be operated on because it's been too long. It was discovered 2.5 years after the injury actually happened. But my why is, after having my daughter, I could hardly move, and I'm a personal trainer. So I had a C-section, and I thought that's why I was having a hard time moving. It was also because of this hamstring injury that I wasn't even aware of. And so much of my why was, okay, my option is I can continue to live in this much pain and hardly be able to do anything, or I can fight through this slowly, and it's been very slow, to be able to feel better, so that I can live the life that I want and chase after her, because she's very active. And I think when you can really identify a why, and again, coming back to the same thing I said before, which is how do you feel and how do you want to feel? And is there a difference between the two? If you're not feeling your ideal, something has to change. And when we constantly rely on your why being a physical thing
Mhm.
of what you look like, it's superficial, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Um, with that said, it's why I combine the fitness and the self-love piece together, because until you fix the inside,
Mhm.
doesn't matter what you do to the outside. They go hand in hand, and your whole wellness journey and your all of you requires every piece of you being in balance. And if one is out of whack, they're all out of whack.
Yeah.
Um, right? And so it's finding that balance of making sure it's not just working out. So when I
Mhm.
work with clients one-on-one, I'm not just saying, here's your workout plan. No, let's talk about your relationship with food. Most of the women I work with decide, sorry, that's my max.
What?
Most people decide, I'm so busy, I'm not going to eat all day. And then at night, they want to eat anything and everything. And so we first work on, let's nourish your body, 3 meals and a snack a day. That's one of the things that we
Mhm.
constantly, we're not talking about a diet. We're just talking about, like, can you please eat something?
Yeah.
Um, Getting in your water, working out is part of it. And oftentimes, again, easing into that, whether it be strength training, walking, your desired cardio. But then there's other factors, like, what are you doing in terms of your soul care? Are you
Mhm.
feeling good about yourself? Are you fueling your soul? Are you connecting to the spiritual side of you? My faith is a really big part of my life, and I incorporate devotions of reading my Bible regularly, because if I'm not in that place, I'm not functioning well.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's other aspects of, like, connection with other people. Are you in relationship with people, not just romantically, but like friends and family? Like,
Yeah.
all of those parts make part of you, and your body is one part, and yet it's the biggest motivator by for so many
Mhm.
people. But your body is the least interesting thing about you. There's so much about you. And I think something that has really struck with me in the last little while is um, our value. And I
Mhm.
think so many of us are operating out of a value that is skewed
Mhm.
and that is not accurate. And something that I've been really focusing on is studying women of the Bible. And when I started, it was, sorry, Brooklyn would like a bigger sucker. That's what's happening.
Yes.
This is mom life, real life. You want it in there? There you go.
So
You
everyone
put
can
it on.
understand what real life mom in life
This
is
this is
in the
really what it's
business.
like. Say hi.
Hi. Hi. So cute.
It smells like Papa treats. Yeah. I think, like, when we can really actually operate out of our worth,
Yeah.
it's a game changer in every area. And it's not just like my wellness. Like, that
Yeah.
sounds bougie, but it's how you show up in relationships, how you show up at work, how you show up for
Mm.
yourself. And so many women, especially, put everybody else before them. They're the
Yeah.
last person to deal with. But how are you going to give from an empty cup? Right?
Yeah.
There's so, I think when we take this step back and just, it's not just fitness, it's
Mhm.
you
It's
as a whole, and
mhm.
holistically approaching change in your life with small increments that build up and make the change that you desire.
Yeah. I love that. It's so true. Just listening to you speak, I'm like, okay, so I need to put myself first. I need to eat. You're like teaching me right now. It's like things that I already like think in my brain. I was just Here's Brandon's comment. Said, yeah, that's me. I eat once a day, but snack. Um, for me personally, I'm the kind of person that like put my head down because I have like such a short time frame with the
Mhm.
kids in care. Well, we know that one's out right now, but that's another chaos story. But I always have been, even before kids, forget to eat. Like, I don't know what it is. Forget to eat. Just would live off coffee when I was in university
Mhm.
and keep that routine. And so to break that cycle is so hard. So it's like
It
peeling
is.
back the onions of like, okay, why are you doing this? You know that it's not healthy, but you keep
Mhm.
patterns. And I'm like self-diagnosed with ADHD. So more I've been like reading about it. I'm like, yep, yep, yep. I'm like, okay, I need to go see someone about this because apparently I need some extra support because it is like slowly showing up in different areas in my life. But the big piece too, like you were saying about you as a person as a whole is revisiting things, maybe a past experience of different triggers of why maybe you can't show up in like a bathing suit, or maybe go to the gym. Like start thinking of the whys and then slowly picking down at them to make yourself feel better being there and taking the first step. For me anyways, like I know I've been slowly working at that. I would say ever since I've never felt comfortable in my body, but after my son, I'm even more like, nope, nope. I want to wear like my big sweaters. I want to wear like comfy, like just comfortable things. Then used to with my daughter, I was able to like somewhat dress up, feel like I do my makeup more. I don't know what it is. It's like a change, maybe with the chaos of two. I don't know.
I think, but like in all honesty, what it also sounds like is there is a value piece there of you realizing your value and your worth isn't just in your body. And then also acknowledging that your body birthed two children and how magnificent that is. And if the cost is your body changed, your body changed. It doesn't make you more valuable or less valuable. I actually did a post on Sunday talking about like everybody's obsessed with the scale. And I showed a picture of myself at the same size, same weight, and I look entirely different in both. But everybody's so obsessed with what the number says that it dictates how they feel about themselves, how they show up in the world, and it can bring them down when it doesn't have to. And it's why when I coach, I don't focus on weight loss. I've never promoted weight loss. Most of the people who come see me, that's what their goal is, and that's fine. But I don't want women to be like, I want to lose weight because it's going to make me happy. Because it's not. It's not going to make the difference. It is something inside. Sorry, she danced. You can hear her. Yeah, she is. She didn't nap today, so she's like a little bit of a wild child right now. Yeah, she's shaking it. Sorry, guys. But it comes back to that conversation of like, what are you basing your value system on? And a lot of it comes with how we talk to ourselves. So when I say re-recording the negative tape that plays in our head, my tape that played was, you're fat, you're ugly, you're not good enough, you're never going to amount to anything. Nobody wants you. I felt like I had to work for love. So there was so much of that I had to heal from even recently, and realizing like, oh, I can't just like strive for that. Also, like when I was 21, my parents split and I had to work 2 full-time jobs while I was in college. And so all I knew was hustle. And so having to change that culture, even having Brooklyn and injuring my hamstring were pretty much the only things that slowed me down. And I've had to learn how to prioritize time, right? Like I work when she's sleeping. I don't normally take calls when she's awake, because now you hear why. Right? But I'm the same way. But I've had to figure out what I know that for me, now she's standing behind my screen. I've had to figure out for me how I can show up best for me, so I can show up best for her as well as all my clients. Thank you. You just want to see yourself, right?
Hi.
There you go. Thank you.
So cute.
But a lot of it's that kind of conversation, and everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to start working with a trainer. It's going to solve all my problems. I'm going to feel better about myself because my body's changing. It has nothing to do with your body. Like your body's a byproduct of whatever is going on inside. And that's why I show up the way that I show up, because I am plus size. I am a personal trainer. I am a model. I am an author. But if I didn't get over that this was what my body looked like, I wouldn't be here. Right. And like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Right. Like it just, and I say that like so off the cuff, but like really it comes down to like, I had to make a choice, and I had to make that choice 10 years ago, that I was tired of living like feeling like I wasn't enough. And I still deal with it. Doesn't mean that like it completely goes away, but I'm mindful of it and work through it. And that's why I help other women do the same thing.
Yeah. I love that. I just like overcame my fear of public speaking in front of 25, maybe 30 women. I don't know. I stopped counting because I started to get really nervous last week. And I was like, the more I count, I'm going to psych myself out. But like, that's the thing. Like the reason why I started this show is to really tell people that they are worthy of whatever they want to do in life. If that's their passion, let's do it. Let's build that momentum around you, because anyone's worthy of doing anything. And then so the other big piece was, for me anyways, that I struggle with is imposter syndrome, such a big piece. And I'm still talking to myself like with the negative talk of how to switch that out. Because like, even when I launched this show, I'm like, who wants to hear me talk? Who's Brittney? She's nobody. Who cares if she owns a company? Like, so I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I take a step back, have a breath, and just kind of rewrite a little bit positive narratives for me to move forward? Because sitting in a negative mind frame just keeps you in that spiral.
Yeah, it keeps you perpetuating. So one of the things that have been very instrumental in my journey, and I work through it with all my clients, is affirmations. And when I first heard of affirmations, I'm like, oh yeah, they don't work. That's kind of how I dismissed it. But very early on in my healing journey, I went to a conference, and it was led by a therapist that I had actually seen privately in the past. And so at this conference, and he asks for a volunteer. Unconfident Sarah shoots her hand up, no idea why. Has me on stage with this. There was 90 people that I didn't know, and they basically all proceeded to tell me what they saw of who I was. She's a princess. She's a warrior. She's bold. She's strong. And I'm sitting up there on stage crying. So then everybody finishes. My mom's in the back writing all these notes down. And he says to me, I want you to go home, and for the next year, I want you to read these out loud to yourself in the mirror. Right? I am at the top of the page.
Yeah.
And start saying them out loud and look at yourself in the eyes in the mirror when you do it. I remember going home, and I was like, okay, I trust this man. I'm going to do this. So I had it on my mirror in my bedroom. It was by my bedside. I made a graphic for my desktop at my work so that I could see it. I was bombarded by these thoughts because at this point I was bombarded by all the crappy stuff. And so I remember the first time looking in the mirror, I can literally picture being in my bedroom, and I was like, am I really doing this? This is so awkward. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I started saying these affirmations. I am strong. I am bold. I am beautiful. I'm enough. I am worthy. But going through them all. So committed to it every day, not feeling a single thing of anything. 6 months later, I'm on my way to go see one of my best friends, help her unpack. She had just moved. Beautiful summer day in the country road. And I look in the mirror, and for the first time in my life, and I was 30, I was like, oh, I love me. I am beautiful. And it was the first time that I truly believed it. And so here I am, like, sobbing driving, and I get to her house, and she's like, what happened to you? And so I tell her, and she's like, you know what's crazy? I was like, what? She's like, I just found a journal from when I was in Bible college, because she's unpacking. And it was 10 years before this date. And in it, she found a prayer for me that I would learn to love myself. And she found that journal entry the same day that I actually realized it. And so we obviously stood there crying. So when people are like, do affirmations really work? Yeah, you literally have to reprogram how you talk to yourself. And it doesn't just like happen by doing it. It's just like, your teeth aren't going to brush themselves. Right. And I use teeth brushing a lot because it's like, we can all relate. Right.
Yes.
So it is an active, conscious decision to start reprogramming and making those changes and actively re-recording that tape.
Yeah, I love it. Let's dig in a bit deeper, because we're already a little bit 30 minutes in. For those just tuning in, you're listening to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. We are live on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Affirmation. Like, we can talk so much about that, and I want to, because like, I know my mind shift so much. Like, when I first started my business, or when I was in some like negative spaces of my life, I had to learn how to switch the negative self-talk and like create the life that I want to have. So like, I was in an abusive relationship, and I was like, no, I am worthy to have more than this. And so it's like those little things of like that shift. Like, I can't even describe it, because so many people have asked, like, how did you get out? And it's like, I can't even describe it. Like, I just really had to like pick up all my stuff and just get out when I knew it was safe, and never look back, kind of situation. But it's just, when you start seeing that you are worthy enough, and removing that negative piece, and the putting in the affirmation a bit more, it's crazy. Like, I can't describe it more other than life-changing. Everyone might be thinking, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is the only way to describe it, because it's like changing almost like changing your DNA, right? Like, you're going from this self-loathing, like everything is negative. There, it doesn't feel like anything positive. And then when you are able to transition, and some people don't go from like negative to positive, there's a neutral, and like it's all part of that process, right?
Mhm.
But it is life changing because it doesn't just affect like your breathing, it
Yeah.
affects how you show up in every area of your life. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about having these conversations, because if you're continuing to like operate your life out of an operating system that's default, not going to
Mhm.
be able to do all the things that you want. Just like a computer, if it's got a virus, it's not going to be able to execute as it should, right? And I try to find the weirdest examples, but they're things that people can understand. You're the same way. If your mainframe is fried, how are you going to show up in every other of your area of your life to a place that you actually feel empowered about?
Exactly. Yeah. No, 100%. I used to also work in a very toxic work environment. And like just
Mm.
like looking back at it too, of like the negative person that I was and the things that I did and looking to where I am today, like it's like
Mhm.
embarrassing. Like I don't want like embarrassing really of how some
I
things
feel
I
you.
did, right? And it's
Yeah.
like that's not really who I am, but I was just engulfed in that negative piece. And it's
Mhm.
hard too when you're maybe it's you're kind of grown up in that negative piece. So changing your mind frame to be a little bit more positive takes a lot of work. Have you ever
Mhm.
watched Secret?
No, I haven't.
I love it. It's also affirmations and like I like it's on Netflix, so watch
I'm
it.
aware of it. I just haven't watched it.
It's good. I think like after like leaving the toxic place work, I started watching the show again because everyone was talking about it, and so I started watching it, and I was like, yes, I'm going to start. That's kind of when my whole affirmation journey started coming in
Mm,
more into light because that's really what the secret's all about. And
right.
just being more positive and putting that out there. Because let's be
Mhm.
honest, are you wanting to be hanging out with somebody who's all like negative Nancy or
Mhm.
positive and putting that energy out and cultivating a safe place? I want to be in
Yeah.
that space
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think oftentimes too, it's really hard for people to know what step it is to take when you're in a situation. Like we both can probably relate being in abusive situations, that when you're in it, you excuse a lot of the red flags that start to happen. And then when you're in it, it's almost like you're blind to what's actually happening. And
Mhm.
it's only once you're out that you realize how much of your peace was robbed.
Yes.
And I think that that's a really big thing that people can use as a navigation tool is, do you feel peaceful or do you feel at unrest? And a lot of things I work with I say to women all the time is like pursue peace in every area of your life,
Mhm.
because following that will allow you to start to see things differently, see yourself differently, and operate differently.
Mhm.
Because it is really hard to go from that like self-deprecating even to a place of self-love. Again, it
Yeah.
might be getting it into neutral. And Brandon said in the comments, even in the positive affirmations don't work for said person, it's not just burying yourself in negative thoughts, and that helps,
Yeah.
right? So some of it is just like getting the negative thoughts, realizing that they're there. One, so some of it you might not even be realizing that what you say. So some of the work is just like stopping. Okay, I said that to myself, I didn't really want to say that, and just being mindful, oh, that's what I'm saying. And
Mhm.
then the next step might be then starting to change some of those things. So I often have people and then write the opposite of what the truth really large,
Yeah.
but it is possible to do that reprogramming.
It takes time.
Yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
I'm, like, still learning how to do it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
still, like we were just having, like, a crisis before coming in here, and I was like, "Ugh, why did I start this business? This is ridiculous," and, like, the negative talk a
Yeah.
bit, and then I was like, switch it. S You're going down this rabbit hole that you don't need to go in. You know why you started it was to help women build a business and help others. So
Mhm.
why remind yourself, what's your why? What's your why?
Yeah.
And then kind of resegment a little bit. Okay, just a negative little bump in the road here. We'll revisit it another day. But
Yeah. And I think like with those feelings too, I think one of the other things too, especially in this past season for me, it's been very, very challenging. I've had a lot of transition, which you know about. But one of the things I find that like in sharing what you just shared, even people are like, oh, you'll be fine. Oh, it's okay. You're strong. And sometimes it is taking a pause to be like, okay, this sucks. It sucks. But then saying, okay, 5 minutes, I'll allow myself to feel this, and then I have to keep it moving. And that's where, when you come to a place of like affirmations and positive thinking and that kind of thing, is you're able to still acknowledge those feelings because you don't want to stuff them down. Otherwise, they're just
Yeah.
going to fester.
Yeah.
Um, but then you're able to switch your mindset and then start seeing a way out, right?
Mhm.
Rather than feeling like you're still trapped in it. So I think just acknowledging those emotions are really important as well. Sorry.
Wants to be in camera. Hi. Hey, Brooklyn.
She loves watching herself.
That's so funny. She's so cute. Um, but like, that's too, like, as myself as a mom, and you might be able to relate to this too. Like, I don't want my kids to look up at me being like, wow, she's negative, or wow,
Mhm.
she's always X, Y, and Z. Like, I want to be like, obviously you have to be the structure sometimes, but I want to also be like, okay, sometimes fun, or mom has like a good outlook in life.
Yeah.
Kind of. So
Well, I
it's like,
think also too, like, I think especially because of our generation, like we're way more mindful than I think our parents were because things are talked about more, right? So like us being aware of like, for me, it's I don't want Brooklyn to grow up with the same body issues I had. So I affirm her in a very different way. And I know that's working because I hear her talk to her toys. And oh, are you okay? Did you bump your head? Let me pray for it. Like that's her dialogue because that's
yes,
how I speak to her. Right. But because we're mindful of it, I think we are changing those narratives. And I think we are not perfect. We're never going to be perfect. And I think they also need to see that too, and how to handle it, right? When we aren't perfect. And especially like I grew up like I was very performative. I had to have straight A's. I had to do really well. I had to be successful in order to feel loved. And I don't want that for her. And so
Mhm.
being super aware of that means that I don't just validate when she does a good job, right?
Mhm.
And also telling her that I'm proud of her. And again, I know it's working because she does the same thing to her Minnie and Mickey. And say, I'm so proud of you for going down the slide. So
So cute.
those kinds of things, like I think being mindful and aware of it, and that's what it comes down to with all of this, right? Is
Mhm.
being mindful and aware and getting in the driver's seat as
Yeah.
opposed to just letting life take you and just surviving,
Yes.
right?
And it's okay to hit the pause button and give
Yeah.
grace, because I feel like we are always like 200% let's go
Hmm.
hard,
Yeah.
especially as like I find too, like as we grow your business, and those who are not entrepreneurs, specifically some people in the family might be like, oh, are you successful yet? It's like, I literally just
Mhm.
launched. Like,
Yeah.
how now you're making me question why I'm doing this, and all the things, now the negative pieces are coming in my head, and now I'm just shutting down.
Yeah.
It's a combination effect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very true. And I think oftentimes too, like our definition of success, not just what other people mandate for us,
Yeah.
that also, I know that that's one I've had to work at. I've done a lot of TV and I've worked with some amazing brands. And yet, because my certain measure of success isn't met, it's like, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's not a big deal.
Mhm.
When that's not the case, right? And again, coming back to like what you said too, like the reason you started your business was to help women, and that's why I started doing what I do as well, right? Was to make a difference, and it all wraps up in our purpose and what we were created for, right? But again, it's not always easy to remember, but when you shift that mindset, you come to it quicker.
Yeah, 100%. How about you tell the listeners about your book? Because I'm looking at the time, and I want to make sure you share about your book.
Okay, so I have a copy here. This is my fitness and self love journey. So essentially, this is my entire coaching program in one book. So I coach clients one on one. I have an app. So if you wanted to work with me, you would go to my website, apply for it.
Mhm.
And my assistant reaches out to set up a time to chat. And I literally create a custom program for you, basically built off of everything in this book. So we go through affirmations and
Yeah.
journaling and how to do all the things. So I share a bit about my story in a little bit more detail. We go through setting your goals, creating sustainable habits, how to plan and
Mhm.
prepare. Like it's like a workbook.
Okay.
Writing your affirmations, talking about self care and rest. Um, practicing your affirmations, getting comfortable with the mirror, some actual like specific mirror work. Again, it's like a full workbook, but then you get into actually being able to track your journey. So it's 12 weeks of tracking. So you have everything's in 4-week cycles, which is how I train my clients as well. So it's undated, so you can do this multiple times. Your goals for the month. I like to set intentions. I think it's important. And then endless possibilities. So I usually like to just kind of like, this is usually what I write as my prayer for the month of what my hopes are for the month. And then a week in advance. So you can kind of plan out when your workouts are going to be. So I often recommend when it comes to figuring out how and when you're going to work out is take a look at your calendar, put in all the things you have to put in, and then plug in your workouts where it's going to work for your lifestyle. If you want to work out at 5, but that's really not going to work for your day, you're not working out at 5. So you got to put it in, plan ahead, and then you can track every day. So we have something you're grateful for every day. I think it's really important to be mindful of what you're grateful for, your affirmation of the day, your goals for the day in terms of your wellness. So I usually put what my workout is for the day, my walk, hitting my 10K steps, drinking my water, and then anything else. Like, I think it's really important to have a tracker that's not just fitness, but also like what else? Like Brooklyn starting daycare on Wednesday, right? Like those kinds of things. Total steps so you can track them. I really think it's important. I love having a steps goal because it just makes me mindful to be active through the day. Tracking your water to make sure you stay hydrated, and then your mood for the day. And really the reason for having your mood for the day is just to draw some conclusions. How do you feel on a day you work out versus how you feel on a day you don't work out? How you feel on a day you're nourishing your body or you're not, or you're around people who are negative, right? Like those are the kinds of things we want to draw conclusions of so that we do more of what makes us feel good, less of what makes us feel pretty crummy. And then good things that happen that day. So I love to have this as a like place for celebration as well as a marker. For example, I just found out today that I'm going to Montreal on Sunday for a campaign with Pennington. So that will be in mind today.
Amazing.
So you have 7 of those. Thank you. 7 of those for the week. And then you have a weekly reflection. What were my wins for the week? What are my opportunities for this coming week? Rather than seeing it as I failed at something this week. It's more of a positive mindset of like, what are my opportunities? What can I do different this week? And then what do I need to make this happen? A habit tracker for the week. And then like, you can just process your thoughts and give yourself a rating. And then it repeats. So it really is like a program in one. And then I also have a refill version. So if you don't want the book every time, there is a refill version that's half the price and it's just the 12 weeks of tracking. I actually personally use it. I've been using it every day since January 1st. I love actually writing it down and feeling proud at the end of the day. Showing up and like checking something off that you've done it actually helps build your confidence, self-confidence even more because you've just followed up on a commitment you made to yourself. So it's really valuable.
And it gets you kind of sitting down to kind of in quiet, if you can, and, reflecting a little bit and making notes for yourself. So that can be a little bit of your quiet you time that sometimes get
missed. And I think also too, like it comes back to like if there is one secret when it comes to your wellness, it is planning and preparing. You're not going to hit your goals like anything else in life unless you are actually planning and preparing and making space for it. So it's a quick way to be like, okay, this is how today went. I didn't like how today was. What can I change it for tomorrow? And so like, it's literally just having that little quick check-in time. And for me, it, like you said, is part of that self-care. So I do mine every night before bed. And then I journal as part of my wind down routine for bedtime to help prepare me, do a brain dump. So that I'm not thinking about all the things while I lay down, which I know is something that a lot of women struggle with. So just a lot of those little tools to help on that journey because it can feel really daunting, but it doesn't have to be. Now it's so natural. And it's been 10 years for me doing this kind of stuff. So this book is 10 years of lessons and learnings in order to help you on your journey.
I love that. And you can get it on Amazon?
Yep, Amazon worldwide. Just search Fitness by Sarah Taylor or Fitness and Self-Love Journey or my name or the link that you have on the show.
I keep popping it up and above. I keep going between the different. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm like, which one shall I throw up? Like a little radio host over here. Um, I was just looking at some of the questions. I know we kind of brought in faith a little bit there. How does faith entwine with your mission in empowering women through fitness and wellness?
So, in full transparency, I grew up as a pastor's kid, and I've been sharing my life online for 10 years when I won Miss Plus Canada in 2014.
Mhm.
And I have only started sharing about my faith in the last probably year. It's something that I would like just kind of like bypass, but not actually go into detail. But if it wasn't for my faith, I would be here. So much of my journey is wrapped into me really seeing how God sees me and seeing me as worthy. And with that, I also know that like not everybody resonates with the Christian faith.
Mhm.
So I'm also very like aware of that. With that said, I've attracted a lot of clients and women who are of the Christian faith. And so
Mhm.
some clients are like, don't bring up faith in my stuff. I've never actually had somebody say that, but I'm not pushy with it.
Yeah.
um, but also I have clients who are like, I really appreciate that you talk about doing your devotions. Can that be one of my habits in our coaching program? And so I do think it's important because we are made of body, soul, and spirit, and it is an element that we need to take care of. And so I'm happy to share the things that I've learned and discovered. And I also recently just graduated seminary.
Yeah.
I did a virtual, just a small one, but it was specifically for women to learn how to preach. And so I just graduated that at the end of January. So just trying to add to my skills and how I can communicate a little bit more effectively when it comes
Mhm.
to the things of the Bible. But I think the thing I'm passionate most about when it comes to the Bible is women in the Bible, because there are so many amazing women in the Bible. My name personally comes from biblical reference, Sarah and Ruth. And Sarah in the Bible is somebody who had great promise that felt impossible. She had a baby
Mhm.
at 90. And I resonate a lot with that as part of my journey. And then Ruth is somebody who has been redeemed and who had great purpose and destiny out of great pain. Again, a lot of who I am. And so I think it's really cool to take lessons from the Bible and then apply it to our everyday life and how it applies to us as women
Mhm.
and attributes we can strive to as women and women to look up to in the Bible. I think that that's my niche is like digging into that a little bit more. So I'm currently studying women of the Bible and just kind of like soaking in that. Not sure quite yet what that's all going to look like, but I know that it'll come. So
Yeah. I was like,
very big
were you
part of
the
my
one who brought up that you were doing that before? Because I feel like I'm having like deja vu. I don't know. Someone told me about the Bible before. I feel like it was last week.
It
Somebody
might
was
have been me. Oh yeah, because I shared that specific story in my in my Instagram.
okay. I was like, am I
Yeah.
having some deja vu right now? What's happening?
No, I definitely shared it.
um, yeah, my family is we grew up as Christian and baptized, and then we also are Catholic. And then we
Okay.
also had a journey of once my mom going down wanting to see what Jehovah's Witness is. And so for me,
Um,
to know what my journey is, I think I'm just kind of like da da da, like
yeah. Well, I
float.
think it's important for people to like navigate for themselves. Like I grew up as a pastor's kid, but my faith didn't become my own until I was 16. And I think it's a really important, like, we might be raised a certain way, but I think it is important for us to discover and go on that journey because it's going to mean more to you when you discover it.
Exactly. I
Right.
grew up a lot with my aunt and her her kiddos in the summer, and so I would go over there.
Mhm.
We would go to church every Sunday. Like that was what we all did together, no matter what. When the boys had
Mm.
sleepovers, they always had to come back, and we all made sure we went to church every Sunday. That was definitely big. And so it's like an ongoing joke because sometimes I have the prayer station set on my car. And so every now and then, if my husband goes in the car and it's like set to that, he's like, oh, your music's playing again. I'm like, oh, I know. I loved it. It just picked me up today. Like,
That's so funny.
yeah, I'm just watching the time because we have a few more minutes. How did you start approaching renowned brands like Nike, Sport Check? If anybody out there listening, like, and Nick's, because that was a pretty recent one, was it not?
Yeah. So in all honesty, a lot of it came from just like putting myself out there. When I
Mhm.
first started, I just started tagging brands. And I'll be completely transparent. I've not had an agent. So all the work that I've done has been, I kind
Amazing.
of believe God's open doors. that I've never knocked on. So like Nike was my biggest dream. When they launched plus size in 2016, I did a photo shoot and said, one day I will model for Nike. And I happened to know somebody who put my name forward for a motherhood campaign with Nike. And so that was the big one. And then they also sponsored 3 runway shows I produced. Okay, thank you. 3 runway shows I produced at the National Women's Show in 2019.
Yeah.
So they had my entire community come to the Toronto office, dressed everybody head to toe, and gifted them all their outfits. And there was 30 of them. So like stuff like that just happened. Knits. I went to an event that I was invited as an ambassador, and just kind of happened. I just continue going. I think one of the biggest things is to put yourself out there and keep taking one step at a time. That's really what it comes down to. And pursuing your dreams. Like, these are things that I, 1, never thought was possible. And 2, I'm living my wildest dreams in so many aspects, like going to Pennington's on Sunday to Monday. Like, that's pretty significant, right? But again, none of it would have happened until I learned to love myself. I started putting myself out there and started realizing what my dreams were and wanting to make a difference. Like, it's not the Sarah show. It's my hope is that women see my story and hear me talk. It's if she can do it, I can do it. Oh, she's plus size, I can do that. I can be that confident, right? Like, that's my hope, is that it really empowers women to pause and decide they want to make a change and just start showing up, so they can live the life that they want and they can feel empowered and not constantly feel like they're not enough.
I love
That's what it comes down to.
I love that. Is there any last advice or tips you want to give to our listeners? Because we have a few more minutes left. Like 3 minutes.
I would say the biggest thing when it comes to being fulfilled in life is really coming down to dialing into how much you're worthy as you are now, that you don't have to make change, and to be able to look into the mirror every single day and say, I love me, I value me, I'm worth it. And then showing up in that place. And so, is it going to be uncomfortable if you're not currently feeling the way you want to feel? Probably, but that's where you're going to grow. And you have 2 choices: stay where you are and continue to feel the way you feel, or regress, or focus on small changes that will add up over time to get you to where you want. It's not a race, it's a journey. We don't need to focus on the destination right now. Just focus on finding ways to show up for yourself, body, soul, and spirit, so that you can live the life that you want and live it fulfilled and out of a place of plenty rather than lack. And I think that my hope is that people can take that pause to make that decision, because that's the hardest step, is just making that decision. And then just taking one step in front of the next, in front of the next, in front of the next.
Yes. I love that so much. I think I say this quite a bit on the show, is just be mindful, give yourself grace, because we're always so like 100% hard on ourselves, 100% all the time. Us as moms, just we always forget about ourselves. So if you're comparing a lot to others, you're going to forget about you. Yeah. And stop the comparing and really just be who you are and really step into your worthy self, because everyone's worthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you, everyone, for tuning into the show. Everyone in the chat room, a big thank you to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. Next week, we have Tiana coming in from Exploitation Education Institute. We are talking about a bit about human trafficking and censorship for kids as young as 6 and up. So please tune in. I'm excited to also have her come in and educate us all. So with that, until next week, remember, your journey is unique and your worth is unquestionable. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.